Thank you so much, SK. Now, we know that Cricket South Africa has made the bold decision of turning down Australia's one-day international to our shores and instead opting to play the inaugural SA20 competition, which is hoping to emulate big T20 tournaments such as the Big Bash and the Indian Premier League. To talk to us about this and other cricketing matters, we are joined by SA20 Commissioner and former Proteas Captain Graeme Smith. Good morning, Graeme. Thank you so much for joining us on Sports on Morning Live.
Good morning. Nice to chat to you. Hope you're well.
I'm very well, thank you. Graeme, let's start on the SA20. I mean, we've seen how the IPL has been so beneficial for India from a commercial point of view as well as on the field. Perhaps talk to us about the timing of this tournament and how we are hoping it will benefit our players.
Yeah, look, you spot on. I mean, the IPL has made a big impact on not just India, but world cricket. I think South Africa has been a little bit behind the times in being able to develop a league that can keep us at the forefront of the world game. And I think that we've finally got it right. I think we're very excited about January. January is a great time of the year from a weather perspective. We're all excited, to get something going. And I think, to be able to attract the world's best players and develop a strong South African core cricket group that we can hopefully grow into the future, that's the goal.
And we talk about this excitement of January 2023. It's going to be so great. Perhaps also just bring us into what happened in terms of that exclusive broadcasting deal with the pay channel. Was there perhaps no appetite from a free-to-air perspective?
Look, I think we want to grow the game as big as we possibly can, but you've got to build it with layers. Unfortunately, these type of things require big investment, big backers, and that was ultimately the core of being able to build a product like this that we can then grow it out and take it to the rest of the country. I think that was the important base that was put in place. I think commercially we've been able to sign a few deals now worldwide, broadcast into many regions, and as SA20 we now the base is there for us to go and build it out, and we're very excited, and hopefully the fans and the people will come and support us.
Okay, so perhaps moving forward then things may be looking a bit different to what it is now in the South African context.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is for this event to be successful in South Africa. Yes, we've been able to attract some international talent. We are trying to build a global product that is recognized as, the biggest league out of India. That's something that's a huge thing that a huge goal of ours. But the core part of the product is South Africa, South African cricketers and the fans and the public in South Africa. So we're building a huge amount of entertainment. The stadiums are going to have a different look and feel to anyone that's experienced cricket before. The energy, the music, the lifestyle elements. We want to see the cultures dancing in the stands and, having fun and enjoying some great cricket with it.
Graeme, you speak about enjoying some great cricket. Now, when you joined CSA as the Director of Cricket, of course, you were tasked with turning things around for cricket in South Africa. And with so many problems existing in our cricket at the time, and we know there were a lot of issues, what were your biggest areas of concern when you stepped into that role?
Oh, listen, I think the concerns I had, once I stepped into that role, I realized that those were minor. Ultimately, I think, cricket in South Africa needs to find a way to get out of its own way and move on from all the political stuff that's happening inside of it and put cricket at the core of what it wants to achieve. And I think if it can manage to do that, they can get back on track, produce more talent, and hopefully, start to be really dominant on the world stage again. I think that people are really tired of the negative energy that comes with cricket at the moment, and that's certainly something we're trying to shift at SA20, to introduce new fans, to bring that energy back to the game, go back to the kind of core that everyone loved, and that's what we're trying to do.
And you speak, Graeme, about just, trying to step away from the political aspects of the cricketing side of things. But a lot of people were asking themselves a number of questions. Perhaps if you can just take us into your confidence about your rationale and your thinking when the appointment of Mark was made over Enoch, because a lot of people were asking questions. Why has Graeme made this appointment? What are the reasons behind that? Perhaps take us into your confidence and enlighten us on that a bit.
Oh, that's years ago now, and ultimately I think that the decision was made in the best interest of South African cricket. At the time I felt that they needed someone with great international cricket experience, battle-hardened person that knew what was in the international game. Certainly there were a lot of players that needed to be shifted. There was youth, and the experience that Mark brought was ultimately the deciding factor. So a couple of years later, Enoch's now the man in charge, and he's got the big decision.
He does have the big decision now. Let's talk about you as the captain of the Proteas. I mean, you had very successful tenure as the captain of the Proteas, and it's a job that you had for a very long time. Were you at all surprised when you heard about the experiences of the players of colour who you were playing with at the time, when they expressed their unhappiness with the Proteas setup at the time?
Yes and no, because I think from my perspective, there is, it's always important to listen. It's always important to hear people's feelings. I was surprised by it. I think some of the things that were said, really caught me off guard, because, a lot of the times and the experiences we had, they were very different, unfortunately, I think there was also an element of taking advantage of the situation at the time, which was disappointing. I think ultimately, I'm just very glad the truth was got to in the end, and things were sorted out.
Graeme, before we let you go, just looking at how you were a captain of the Proteas, and we look at Themba Bavuma now, receiving quite a lot of backlash from people. What words of encouragement or advice would you give him, having been in a similar position as him back then as a captain? But obviously the backlash he's getting now is coming, sometimes justified, sometimes unjustly. So what words would you give to Themba at this moment as the captain of the Proteas?
Listen, there's nothing you really can say to him. You can support him. You can pretty much say anything that sounds good, and get behind him and show faith. But ultimately, it always comes down to performance. Performance of the team, performance of yourself, and that's the only way that you could answer your critics. And that's kind of the key advice that I'd give to Themba, is to focus on getting back, scoring runs, leading the team well. And that's the only way really to keep people quiet. It doesn't really happen any other way. So focus on what's important. Try and quieten the noise in your head. The pressure of leading your country and performing at the top level is never going to go away. And ultimately, the only way you can turn things around is through performance, and that's what I would say to him.
Graeme, we have unfortunately run out of time, but as I say goodbye to you, the tickets for the SA20, when do those go up on sale?
They're on sale. We start on Jan 10th. Tickets went live on Monday. They're very affordable. We're hoping to see many people in the stands and joining us in January. And let's turn cricket around.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Graeme. Have a blessed day ahead.
You too. Cheers, bye.